Alright, so now we understand the object identification techniques and we are ready to do automation. So let us move on to the first test case where we will be trying to perform some operations on the web elements. So now we are going to use Selenium library. So if I hit control space after typing Selenium library and dot, I see all these functions which are available in Selenium library. Alright, so these functions are arranged in alphabetical order here, but I will be explaining these to you in a more logical order rather than this alphabetical order. Alright, so we start with the first function, which is opening of browser. So we know that how to open a browser and how to launch a URL. Now the second thing is, let's say this is our test application, and what we want to do is we want to click on one of the links here like A/B testing. Okay, so let us find the locator for this. We know that it is having a href and its value is also given, so we can validate the locator here in the browser itself. And once we get the unique locator, we can use click element, and here we can mention the technique that we are using. So xpath colon and that locator that we have tried there. Okay, even if you do not mention xpath colon, that is also okay, it will still work. Okay, so let us try to run this test case and see what happens. If you are using red editor, you can also use alt R by selecting that particular test case, and it will be running only that test case. If you are using write editor, in that case it also gives you flexibility to select the test cases through checkboxes. Okay, so you can see that it has clicked the link and it has opened the next page. Alright, so two functions are clear to you: open browser and click element. Now the next is, let's say we are onto this page. What we want to do is we want to read this text and we want to print this on console, or maybe later we want to validate whether that text is okay or not. Okay, so we'll be talking about these assertions or validations later, but for now we are just trying to read that text. Okay, so we have opened the page, we have clicked on that link, and we have reached to that link. Okay, that page. Now we want to read the text from the second page, right, which was opened after clicking on that link. So to read the text, we have function named as getText, and it asks for an argument, that is locator. So you need to give the locator of the element for which you want to read the text. Okay, so again we go back to the application and we'll try to find the locator of that particular element. So I know that the locator for that particular element was h3 only, so I put here. And since getText is going to return a value, the text actually, so I'm going to save it in a variable, and then I'll print the value of that variable on console. So let us run this test case and see what it prints on the console. So it has opened the browser, it has launched the application, and it has clicked on that link and it has reached to that page, and you can see it has printed on console the title that we were targeting. Okay, so that is it, and we have not added a step to close the browser here, so we can put a step to close browser or close all browsers here. Okay, so this is done for the first test case, and we have covered three functions here: open browser, click element, and get text. Let us move on to the second case, and we will try to click on certain buttons, so add or remove elements. So you can see the functionality that when we click on this element, it adds multiple elements here, and these are dynamic elements, and when you click on that specific delete button, that element get deleted. Okay, so we'll see the locators of this add element first of all, and we'll try to add n number of elements, and then we'll be deleting all those elements from the page. So we will first find the locator for add remove elements link, and this is the locator. I can copy it and I can paste here click element, and xpath is this one. So it will open the browser and click on that link, and it will take me to this page. Right now, next is I need to find the locator for this button. I can see here this is button tag and text is add element. Okay, so again we need to find locator for this element. So I'm using the tag, let's say button. So if I use only the tag name, it is giving me unique element, but it is not the reliable locator, because when we'll be clicking on this element, there would be more buttons added on the page and we'll be getting multiple elements. So it is better that you put a more reliable locator. So I'm putting the text here. I'm using the text function. So the text is add element, because the other buttons that we are going to add are having a different text. Okay, so we can put here again click element and button text equals add element. Remember that we have another function named as click button, which we can use to click on the buttons, right? So click element is a generic function that you can use on any type of element. Now we want to add, let's say, 5 number of elements. So I'm repeating this step over and again. And there is another way that we have covered earlier in section 2, that is usage of for loops. So I'm using for loop. So for with all capitals. So for, and then counter I in range 1 to 6. Let's say I want to add 5 elements, and that ends with end, right? And in between we need to put the statement that we want to repeat. Now when we run this piece of code, you would see that it would be opening the browser, it will be clicking on that link, it will open that page, and then it will be adding 5 elements on that page. Now let's say we want to delete all these elements, right? So since these elements are dynamic elements, these were not present on the page when we clicked on the link and reached to this page, right? So it is important to study the behavior in the HTML source. So this is the HTML source. We can see that all these 5 buttons come under a div tag whose ID is elements, and all the rest of the characteristics of these 5 elements are same. They have a common class, they have common text, they have same tags. So the only thing that is differentiating these elements is the index number. So for index number, we first need to reach out to the parent. So therefore div with ID elements and then button. So that is how we can reach to these 5 elements. Now if we specify the index number like 5, so I would be having that particular element selected. Now in the code, I can add a step to perform click operation on these buttons, and I can delete all these elements. Right, so that is what we are going to do. Let's say we want to again have a for loop, and I want to repeat a common statement which I can perform so that I can delete all these elements. Now since these delete buttons have index numbers from 1 to 5, we can control it through counter using for loop. Right, so I have another loop, let's say for I in range 1 to 6, and in the next statement we need to say click element, and we need to put a locator. Right, so this locator we can keep dynamic, and we can keep that index number controlled using this counter variable. Right, so we can put I here. Now if we put I here, this would be deleting element at index I. Right, so assume that we have 1 2 3 4 5 buttons, right, and we deleted first one successfully. Now the remaining 4 are not 2 3 4 and 5, right? So as and when one goes away, the remaining ones become 1 2 3 4. Right, similarly if we delete another one, the remaining ones become 1 2 3 and not 3 4 5. So what we can do here is, instead of deleting the element at index I, we always need to delete the first element, right? So we can keep it 1, and it will always delete first element, and we would be having all the elements deleted. The other way is you can iterate this loop in reverse direction, and you can delete from 5 to 1. So even if fifth element goes away, the index of first 4 remains same, and that's why we can delete these elements using that approach as well. Now you can see how it runs. Alright, so another important point that need to be noted here is that we have also discussed earlier as well. So here we have used the function click element, right? And we know that these are buttons, right? And these have button tags. So instead of click element, we can use click button, and it will also work in the same way. Next point is, how do we access checkboxes, right? So you see on this page, when we refresh this page, checkbox 1 is unchecked by default and checkbox 2 remains checked, right? So this is the default setting of these two checkboxes. Now we want to do two things here. First is, we want to check whether these checkboxes are checked or not. Secondly, if it is not checked, we also want to check it, right? Or vice versa. So we'll be doing these two operations on both the checkboxes. One which is not checked, we'll check it, and one which is checked, we will uncheck it. Right, so first of all, we'll check whether the checkbox 2 is checked or not. So for that, checkbox should be selected as the keyword that we are going to use, and we need to pass the locator. And we also have another function, checkbox should not be selected, which checks whether that checkbox is unchecked or not, right? So this way we can check both the checkboxes statuses. Now let's say checkbox 1, which was unselected by default, we want to mark it checked, and similarly checkbox 2, which was by default selected, we want to uncheck it, right? So we just need to perform click operation on both the checkboxes. So we can use click element for both the checkboxes and it will reverse the statuses. Now let us run this test case and see what is the output. So by default 1 was unchecked and 2 was checked, and after execution 1 is checked and second one is unchecked, right? We could not observe the intermediate stages because it is very fast. We can check in the logs what has actually happened. So it verified both the checkboxes and it also clicked on these two, right? So I hope this is clear to you, and we move on to the next topic. Next we'll be talking about two functions for typing text in text boxes, right? So we have username and password, and we can see these elements here. So username is of type text and password is of type password, right? So we have two different functions. We can use input text function to type in any text box, and for password fields we have function input password. Okay, so for the username we use input text, and in the arguments we need to first give the argument as locator of the element where we want to type the text, and the second argument is the text that you want to type over there. So for example, I want to type admin as username. Similarly for password, the function name is input password. Again, two arguments. First argument is the locator. So for that the locator was input with id equals password, and again I need to give the text as the password value. Alright, so these are the two functions that we have for typing text into the text boxes, be it of text type or password type. And you can see the output here. Alright, so let's move on to the next two functions. So let's say you have to take screenshot of the page or any element on the page. So for that we have two functions in robot framework. Let's say we want to take screenshot of this title, and which has tag name as h3, and we first of all need to find the locator of it. We can see here this is div example, and under that we have h3. Let's say we want to take screenshot of this entire division rather than that header tag only, right? So I have that URL here in open browser, and then we have function capture element screenshot, and then in the locator I need to give the locator using any technique, right? So in this example I'm using CSS selector. So this will be saving the file in the default project location, and it would also give a default file name here, right? So second argument is file name. If you want to give a specific file name, you can also give that file name, and it will save the screenshot with that file name. Alright, so if we run it, you can see, so it will launch the URL and it will take the screenshot, and that screenshot we can check in the project directory. We have not put close browser here, that's why browser was not closed. But if I go back to the directory, here also I can see the name. It is Selenium element screenshot 1.png, right? We can also check in the logs here. So if I open the logs from here, or maybe directly from here, the project explorer, if I open it like this, and if I scroll a bit down to test suite 1 and test case 4, under that we have the function capture element screenshot, and this is the screenshot that we captured, right? This is for that div only, not for entire page. Now let's say you want to take screenshot of entire page. So for page we do not require any element or locator, we just need to use this function without any arguments. One argument is again optional, that is the file name. So if you do not give that file name, it would be taking screenshot of entire page again. So now again let's verify. If I go to the log file and test suite and then test case, here on capture page screenshot we have screenshot of entire page. Alright, so I hope this is so far clear, and we move on to the next function. Alright, so next we are talking about file upload feature. For this we have a button. When we click on this button, it opens a Windows pop-up. Automating Windows based pop-ups is not under control of Selenium, but we do have a method choose file which helps us in automating this part. So choose file takes two arguments. First one is locator of that button, which helps you to upload the file, and then file path is actually the path of file which you want to upload. Remember that you do not need to have backward slashes here. You need to put all the forward slashes in the path, and the file name should be given here, right? So it should be complete path. Now if we run this, you would see that it already has selected that file, and we just need to click on this upload button after selecting this file using choose file function, right? So once we click on upload button, again using click element or click button function, this file would be uploaded. Alright, so next 4 functions are maximize browser window, reload page, go back, and go to URL. These are very easy functions which you can use without any arguments, right? Go to function needs one argument, that is URL. So maximize will maximize the window, reload will refresh the page, go back will take you to the back page, right? It is just for navigation, and go to will take you to a particular URL that you mention over here. Right, so these functions are self-explanatory and we are not trying it. If you want to try, you can give it a try, and if you face any challenge, you can write to me. So after this, we are talking about mouse operations. So we have these 6 functions for mouse operations: mouse down on image, mouse down on link, and mouse up. These are basically to perform click operation. Mouse down and mouse up as a combination actually performs a click operation. Mouse out is, let's say you are on a particular element, it takes one locator, so from that element it moves your mouse away, and it is not actually moving the cursor that you have, it would be just simulating that action, right? So when we would be running this code, you would see that mouse pointer will remain there, but yes, that simulated action would be happening in the background. Similarly, mouse over will perform the mouse over action. Again, it won't take your mouse cursor over there, it would be just simulating that action, right? So let us try these 2 functions, mouse out and mouse over here. So we use the same URL again, right? So we'll be doing mouse over onto that upload button. So you can see that if we mouse over to that button, its color changes to dark blue, and if our mouse cursor is not on that particular button, it remains light blue, right? So we first of all take our mouse to that particular button. So mouse over ID file submit, right? This will take my mouse cursor over that element, right? It won't be taking actual cursor, it would be just simulating that action. So before and after, I am putting 5 seconds sleep so that I can observe what is happening. And after a mouse over, after 5 seconds of mouse over, I am using mouse out to move the mouse away, right? So initially when I run after launching the URL, it should change the color of that button to dark blue, and then after 5 seconds it should change it to again light blue. So we are waiting for 5 seconds, and you can see the mouse pointer remains there, but the color changes to dark, right? So it has simulated that action, and after 5 seconds it again turns back to light blue. So that mouse over and mouse out actions took place, but actually mouse cursor didn't move. We still have to see a lot of functions in Selenium library that we'll be covering in the next videos, but I want to highlight one important point, that if you do not close the browsers in the code and you open Task Explorer, you would see the driver tasks like this, right? Sometimes it do not close properly, right? So to close it, you can open command prompt and you can use task kill /f/im and the name of the process, right? So it is Chrome driver in my case, and it will kill all those processes. So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll be discussing about wait statements.